Alright, all we are going to go over how to navigate through BuzzSprout as it pertains to uploading and launching your podcast for Apple or Spotify. This is going to be a quick tutorial on how to navigate. So we are in BuzzSprout and we're going to go ahead and just make a free account. So I'm going to go ahead and do get started for free. And it's going to verify and we're going to go ahead and get in here. So we're going to just put our name and then our email that we're going to use. Then we'll go ahead and create your password and create your password. And we're just going to do I am a new podcaster. And then this is where you're going to add in your podcast details. So take a quick moment to review and add some information about your podcast. So I'm going to do Maya J Talks podcast and wanted to do some statistics to describe your podcast. Okay, so you want to make sure that you add your podcast title here, so the name of your actual podcast, and then a brief description about your podcast, what it's going to be about. You can go back and change this later, so I'll go ahead and do done. Let's start podcasting. Okay, so again, we are in here in BuzzSprout. Make sure you do go to your email and verify it. So what we're going to do is I can go ahead and just edit the cover up here. So we'll just go ahead and hover over here and hit edit. And then where it says podcast artwork, you can create your artwork in Canva and upload it. You can design it, but I'm going to go ahead and select my file and upload it. And then where it says podcast category, you can choose what the category your podcast is going to be. I think for me, I will probably end up just doing spiritually and Christianity here. Language is going to be English, my time zone, and we're going to do artist, and I'm going to do my full name. This podcast does not contain explicit material, at least for right now it wouldn't. Only I'm just thinking about this in regards of the topics, but for now we'll leave that alone. And then we'll go ahead and do save podcast info. And again, it can take 24 hours for this information to upload. Now we're going to go over to episodes, and we're going to go ahead and upload our podcast episode. It says you can upload another 2 hours of content in this cycle for the month up into August 2nd, and then it will renew. So we'll go ahead and do upload a new episode. So you'll go ahead and take your audio format of your podcast and go over to upload a new episode. It says drag an audio file here or choose file. So we'll go ahead and choose our file. And I just have my intro. So I'm going to go ahead and hit upload. And then my file has been uploaded, and I'm going to go ahead and do a title. So this one is just my intro. Introduction. Welcome. Okay, and we're just going to keep that very brief. You can do both here, and then at episode footer you can, and then where it says season 1, we'll do the season number, episode 1, episode type. So this is going to be more so of like a trailer, so it's not going to be like a full episode. So we're going to choose trailer, or if you have like a bonus episode, you can add that in. If it's a full length episode, then you'll choose full, but we're just going to do trailer. This one does not contain explicit material. And then it's going to say leave unpublished, but we want to publish immediately. If you want to schedule your podcast, you can select schedule for future, and then you can select the date, and then you can select the time frame that you want that published. But we're going to go ahead, for demonstration purposes, go ahead and do publish immediately. So we publish your BuzzSprout, and go ahead and do save episode details. It now says my episode is live. Listeners can tap in and listen to it. And then I can go ahead and hit play. This is Amaya J, and this is the Amaya J Talks podcast, where we talk. Okay, so you can play through. We have my cover art, we have my title, and the name of my podcast. Now what we want to do is come over to directories. And this is where we need to go ahead and make sure that we check our email. So I'm going to go ahead and verify my email address. You want to make sure you do this so you can go ahead and do the directories. So once you have verified your email, we're going to go back into directories. And this is where you can help people find and listen to your podcasts. So if you wonder how people got their podcasts on Apple and Spotify, this is one of the ways. So if we do Apple Podcasts, we can go ahead and do get listed. And it says, is your podcast already listed in Apple Podcast? If you move BuzzSprout and you already have a podcast, you don't need to resubmit. Use this when Apple Podcasts asks for your RSS feed. So we'll go ahead and copy this. And this is just basically to get on Apple Podcasts. So we're going to go ahead and copy your feed URL or whatever you have URL. So we'll copy that. And then we're going to go ahead and go to Launch Podcast Connect's website. And we could do update password. So then you'll come here and you'll just go ahead and read through their terms of service. I ever read and I agreed to these terms of service. And we'll go ahead and do done. So we're going to go ahead and go over to here where it says the podcast here. And we're just going to do a new show. And it says choose a show type. And we're going to do add a show with an RSS feed. And we're going to go ahead and hit next. And then we're going to take that link and we're going to go ahead and paste it. And we're going to go ahead and hit add. It's going to go ahead and process. And then we're going to come down here and fill out the information. So it says we're still processing your show details. We'll do this show does not contain third-party content. Provide a contact and email so we know how to reach you if there's an issue. So we'll go ahead and put in the information. And then we have that information here, and that's really it. So we'll just go ahead and hit save. And then that information is going to go ahead and get saved. And they typically are still processing your show details. And so we'll check back later to make sure everything looks well. So once you have put in your podcast, you can come back over to Apple Podcast Connect to kind of check the establish, to make sure that everything is established and well. And then you'll see something like this here. So I clicked into it from podcast, click here where it says draft. And then when you are ready, you can go ahead and hit publish. Update frequency, so we'll just do weekly, and then we'll hit save, and then we're going to go ahead and hit publish. And now it says the show information has now been published, and we can go back to podcast, and now our podcast is now on Apple Podcasts. You can go in there and search your name, search the name of your podcast and make sure that it's there. And if we go back over to BuzzSprout, We already know that's been submitted and it's on there. Now for Spotify, we can go ahead and do get listed. And it says to verify your ownership of your podcast, add an email to your RSS feed and add an email. So what we're going to do is submit your podcast to Spotify. And we just went ahead and submitted it with our email. And then from there, it's going to list it on Spotify. Okay. So basically the process basically the same. So depending on what it is that you want to do, you just want to kind of go through here. If you want to get on Amazon Music, you can do that and you can review it and again hit agree. And then, list as many as you need. So this is basically how to get your podcast on Apple and Spotify podcasts. Super easy. Again, this is going to be through the directories. If you have any questions, make sure you send me a message, Amaya J Films, or you can email me, Amaya@envisiongoldmedia.com. But I hope this tutorial was helpful. Thank you.